as much about the angel investing community as our next guest, David S. Rose. He is the chairman of the New York Angels and the CEO of Gust. It's a premier website that connects entrepreneurs with investors. Now, investing is in his blood. He started his first company as a preteen. His great uncle was an angel investor before anyone had a term for it. I spoke with him earlier, and we started talking about Gust and the function it serves.
There have been many platforms over the last probably 15 or 20 years that have tried to help entrepreneurs get money from people. And so they have started aiming at entrepreneurs. There are lots of entrepreneurs with interesting ideas who would love money. And so it's very easy to get a lot of entrepreneurs on your platform saying, hey, give me money.
And you have 35,000 accredited investors.
Well, that's the difference, you see, because these platforms have lots of entrepreneurs looking for money, but what they tend not to have are investors who actually have money looking to invest. And that's the difference with Gust. We started out as a platform for the professional angel investment industry. So Gust is the official platform for the Angel Capital Association in the U.S., the National Association of Seed and Venture Funds, and actually on a global basis, over 35,000, as you point out, accredited investors around the world. So we started out on the investor side as the tools platform for them, and then moved from there to the entrepreneurial side.
You've been part of the New York startup world since New York New Media Association, even before that, as we've established. But recently, New York City seems to be exploding with hot startups. So why now? Is this a surprise to you?
No, it's not a surprise. It's a bit overdue, but it's not a surprise, because New York, one of the reasons New York has been the business capital of the world for centuries. Originally it was the harbor, and then it was the concentration of financial institutions. But what you have here is an extraordinary set of resources. We didn't, however, have much in the way of the technology resources that you had in California. So when the first dot-com boom, internet boom came along, it tended to follow people who were the chip manufacturers in California, or the enterprise software guys and the computing guys, mini computers in Boston. And so New York had entrepreneurs and had the financial industry, but didn't have a whole technology base. So you had some companies that started out in New York, the DoubleClicks and so on, during the boom, and created just enough of an old-growth forest infrastructure, so that even after the crash, of the dot-com crash, when the next boom happened, when things began to come back after 2002, 2003, and 4, all of a sudden, New York then had the wonderful things that made New York the capital of the business capital of the world now began to shine, and you had enough of people from the prior generation to serve as the basis for this explosive new industry.
So that is sort of New York's place right now, not a surprise to you. And speaking of this activity, I mean, some people would say it's gotten frothy, it's gotten ahead of itself. Do you think there is actually a bubble in angel investing? If you look at the valuations, which is what the bubble is all about, people investing in startup companies at higher valuations than they probably should be, there's a very, very slight bubble. But there are 600,000 companies that get started every year in the U.S., and probably 50,000 max that get funded by angel investors. So there is plenty of overhead here. So yes, valuations are getting a little frothy now, but they'll come back to earth a little bit. Remember, we are in no way similar to what you had during the boom, when you had companies were being funded at 10 or 100 times the valuations they are now. So this is nowhere near a dangerous bubble. David, you've been an angel since you've been 10. You founded Gust in 2004. What are you seeing between, let's say, 2004 and now with the angel community that is different between now and 2004? How has your advice changed? It's now possible to start companies for a fraction of what it cost back in 2004, 1997. So it's cheaper. So it's cheaper by orders of magnitude. When the first company that I founded that received venture financing took $20 million to get to our internet product ship back in the early 1990s. And now that would be VC money, right? Venture cap money versus angel. That was venture capital money. But now New York Angels funded a company recently. It's now the world's largest royalty-free video stock footage marketplace. And they came to us having spent a total of $20,000, which got them an up and operating website and generating revenue. Now, David, I know people call you the pitch coach for the way that you train entrepreneurs making their investment pitches. If I were to make you a pitch in an elevator, what are the 3 things I have to do to get your attention?
First of all, you have to show me integrity and passion, because I'm investing in you. Angels invest really, really early. We call it betting the jockey, not the horse. So I want to know that you are the person I want to put my money behind, number one. Number two, you have to convince me pretty quickly that what you've got is something that is scalable. And that means it can start small so I can afford to invest. But ultimately, it can get to be very, very big so that I will ultimately make my money. And then the third thing is you need to show me that you have the tools, the skill, the ability to execute, because ideas are worth nothing if you can't execute.
On the flip side, what's going to get me just kind of kicked out of the elevator, so to speak? What do you know right away? Okay, this idea isn't going to work, or this person is not the right person to lead it.
Anything you tell me that gives me the slightest hint, the slightest shadow of a doubt about you as a person in terms of integrity, or if you make claims that you can't support or things that I know are not true, you're out of there. On the other hand, if it's a business model that I've heard many, many times before, and we've heard a lot of business models, and I know it doesn't work, you might not know it's not going to work, but I might know that.
So do you tell somebody, listen, I have a lot of experience, it's a good thought, it's not going to work?
I will never say it's not going to work, because you never know. Everything might work at some point. What I can say, honestly, is I've seen people try this particular model half a dozen times before, and in my experience, it has never worked in the past.
That's fairly diplomatic, David.
You might be the first, but I'm not willing to make that bet.
David S. Rose, founder of Gust, sitting down there with us. Well, there's